Field reports from the strange. This is Obscura Bureau.
She recognized the lullaby playing from her phone, the same melody her father had sung every night of her childhood, but her father had been dead for 3 years. The air in her bedroom grew thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old coins left in a wet pocket. Then came the scratching, not from outside the window, but from inside the wall behind her headboard. Slow, deliberate drags of something hard against plaster, keeping perfect time with the lullaby's rhythm. Her breath hitched as a cold, sticky dampness seeped through the sheets beneath her, and then a whisper, so faint it might have been the wind. But the words were unmistakably her father's voice. Sleep tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite. But in their family, that was never just a nursery rhyme. A worn music box tinkles its haunting melody. A police evidence photo reveals a familiar, tarnished necklace. A woman's trembling hand slams a leather-bound photo album shut. This isn't a story about a secret. It's about the night I discovered my mother's lullaby was a confession. The home video glows with warmth. Young Sarah laughing as she bakes cookies with her daughter Lily, sunlight drenching the kitchen. Now in her Portland apartment, 28-year-old Lily watches the screen, the memory shifting from warmth to a hollow ache. Her mother, Sarah Evans, was her whole world. A world that would soon unravel in ways she could never imagine. A faint scent of ozone and dampness seeps into the room, though the windows are shut tight. My dad, Mike, died in a car accident when I was 6. And after that, it was just my mom and me. We lived in a little blue house in Cedar Falls, Ohio, a place that should have felt safe. She was a pediatric nurse, beloved by everyone. The kind of mom who could heal any childhood hurt with a gentle kiss and a soft lullaby. Her presence was a blanket of comfort, a constant in a world that had already taken so much. Present-day Lily. That was her lullaby. She called it the Whispering Willow. Said her own grandmother had sung it to her before. No matter how vivid the nightmare, no matter how high the fever burned, that melody was my tether. It was a lifeline, a whisper of comfort that pulled me back from the abyss. That song was my sanctuary, woven from safety and something deeper. It was pure, distilled love. 2 months ago, the world shifted on its axis. That's when my mother received her diagnosis, early-onset Alzheimer's. The air in our home grew thick with the scent of antiseptic and unspoken fear. The decline was brutal and swift. The woman who once conquered miles now stared blankly at her own microwave, its simple buttons of forgotten language. Then, last week, the call came from the care facility. She'd had a major episode. They needed me to clear out her house for her permanent move to assisted living. Lily entered her childhood home, clean, yet frozen in time, a perfect museum of her past. As she began packing, the air grew heavy with the scent of aged paper and forgotten dust. Present day, Lily's voice echoed the feeling. Going through her things was like archaeology. Layer by layer, I uncovered the remnants of our shared life. My childhood report cards, my father's watch. Then, tucked deep within her linen closet behind folded towels, I discovered a locked metal firebox. With a screwdriver, I pried it open to find a stack of aged letters, a delicate silver necklace with a twisted knot pendant, and a faded newspaper clipping. The clipping was from the Cedar Falls Gazette, dated 1994. Jennifer Mills, a 24-year-old waitress, vanished into the night after her shift ended. A sole witness reported seeing her climb into a light-colored sedan, a detail that offered little traction. The investigation stalled, the trail growing cold and stale as the weeks turned into months. Now, 3 months later, the file remains open, a quiet monument to a disappearance with no answers. Present-day Lily. This necklace, it was all wrong. It didn't belong to my mother. Her taste was classic, elegant. This piece felt younger, aggressive, like it carried a different energy entirely. The paper felt brittle and cold in Lily's hands, smelling faintly of dust and old ink. Her breath caught in her throat as she read the opening line, the handwriting unfamiliar and precise. The letters were addressed to Sarah, but the signature wasn't Mike's. It was someone else entirely. A creeping dread settled in her stomach, the realization that this secret had been hidden for decades. The letters are from a man named David. They're not just passionate, they're obsessive. The final letter is dated just 1 week before Jennifer Mills vanished without a trace. Present-day Lily reads aloud in a hushed, trembling voice. Sarah, my love, you say it has to end. She continues, her voice dropping to a whisper. That you've chosen Mike, but what we have is a fire. He's just safe, a placeholder. I can't accept this. Lily's fingers trembled as she typed David and Sarah Evans into the search bar, adding Cedar Falls with a final, hesitant keystroke. The screen loaded, revealing an old community college faculty page that smelled of digital decay. A primal dread took hold as she read the name, David Cross. He still lived here, retired now, the past refusing to be buried. I pulled up to his weathered house, the engine's final rumble echoing in the quiet street. An elderly man answered, his kind face framed by glasses. But his expression held a deep, weary history. When I revealed the necklace, the air seemed to thicken with a sudden, heavy tension. His face crumpled, not with sadness, but with a recognition that whispered of forgotten horrors. In a flashback, a younger David, heartbroken, hands the necklace to a distressed young Sarah. David. I gave that to Jennifer. She never took it off. The air in the room seems to grow thick, smelling faintly of old paper and dust. David. The day before she vanished, she told me she was leaving. His voice drops to a haunted whisper, the final words hanging in the stagnant air. David. For a woman. She told me she'd finally met someone who truly understood her, but refused to say who. Then David looked at me, his next words plunging the room into a glacial void. He whispered. Her final words to me were, "Don't be sad, David." She sings me the most beautiful lullaby. In the car, Lily sat frozen, the scent of stale air and cold leather wrapping around her like a shroud. She began to piece it together, her mind stitching fragments into a horrifying whole. The lullaby's melody, once a comfort, now carried the weight of a grim secret. The missing woman's fate was not a mystery of chance, but of deliberate design, and the secret lover was the architect of it all. She sprinted through the sterile corridors, the antiseptic scent burning her nostrils. Her thoughts clawed at her sanity. This couldn't be more than a grim coincidence, yet the implication settled in her gut like a cold, icy snow. My mother, a killer? The question felt like a fracture in her world. The woman who tended to my scraped knees? No, I never knew that. But that melody, Jennifer Mills, heard that same lullaby. The memory of it clung to the air in that place. A sweet, decaying scent of forgotten flowers. A sticky, cold dread seeped into my bones. Not from the woman, but from the tune she carried. It was a sound that didn't belong. A whisper from a corner of that facility that time had sealed shut. The late afternoon light cast long shadows across Sarah's room as she stared blankly out the window. Her expression vacant. Lily sat beside her, clutching both her mother's hand and a mysterious necklace in a tight fist. Her voice was barely above a whisper as she leaned closer, the air between them growing heavy with unspoken history. Mom? She breathed out, the word hanging in the stagnant air. Do you know who this belongs to? Lily raised the tarnished necklace toward the dim light. Sarah's gaze settled upon the pendant, her expression blank at first. A faint scent of ozone and damp earth filled the space between them. Then, deep within the tarnished metal, something stirred. In the dim light, a lucid intelligence pierced through the haze of her illness. Her gaze fixed on Lily's, holding a terrifying clarity, an unmistakable dread. Sarah's voice emerged raspy but distinct, carrying an ozone-like tension. Where did you find that? She demanded, as present-day Lily responded simply. In your box. Sarah's eyes drifted from the necklace to her daughter's face, the weight of Jennifer Mills. Particles settling in the air like dust. A heavy stillness filled the room, thick enough to taste. The scent of old paper and something faintly metallic, like dried blood, lingered. Her breath caught. A single tear traced a cold path down her cheek. The silence that followed wasn't sorrowful. It was pure, undiluted panic. Sarah's voice dropped to a frantic whisper, each word sticking in the thick air. You were never supposed to see that. I hid it. I buried everything. In the present day, Lily's voice cut through the memory, laced with dawning horror. Mom, what did you do? Sarah's eyes glazed over, but the terror stayed sharp in them. A faint, rhythmic rocking began in her shoulders. Then, a low hum vibrated from her throat. Barely audible at first, it grew in force. A dissonant note that thickened the air. The sterile room amplified the melody of the whispering willow, now cold and alien in her grasp. What once offered solace now seeped into the sterile air, twisting into something spectral. The notes, once a lullaby, now carried the faint, iron scent of old sorrow. In the quiet, the haunting tune wasn't heard. It was felt. A cold pressure against the skin. A dirge. Present-day Lily. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a lullaby passed down. This was her song, the one she used to calm Jennifer, to gain her trust, or to soothe her own guilt afterwards. Her voice now rose in that familiar melody, a desperate shield against my presence. What once cradled my childhood, that soothing symbol, was always her private ritual. The scent of old paper and candle wax hung thick, mingling with a faint, metallic tang. Her mantra wasn't comfort, it was a wall, built to keep something far worse than me at bay. A warning from her first victim, echoing through my entire life. Across the room, Sarah hums the haunting tune, lost in its rhythm. The air in the room grows heavy with the scent of antiseptic, and something older, like damp earth. Lily walks out into the cold, relentless rain, looking shattered. She gets in her car but doesn't start. Lily stared at the necklace in her palm, her fingers trembling slightly against the cold metal. I never asked about my father's accident. A single vehicle crash on a desolate road. He was always a careful driver, methodical and precise. The police called it a tragic loss of control, but the words felt hollow, like they were hiding something in the silence. Lily stared up through the rain-streaked windshield at the lit window of her mother's room, the yellow glow a stark beacon in the storm. In my possession is a box of evidence that directly ties my mother to a missing person, and a song that connects her to the victim. But worse is the terrible, gut-churning question about my father's death that I am too terrified to have answered. What do you do when the very source of all your love is also the source of a terrible, hidden secret? The choice is yours. Hand her over for a crime erased from history, one she cannot recall herself? Or do you let the secret die with her, allowing that lullaby to be her final memory? A cruel symmetry. Knowing that same melody was the first sound her victim ever heard. The screen fills with the twisted knot of her pendant, a silent, tangled confession. The final strains of the whispering willow twisted into a jarring, dissonant chord. It lingered for a moment, a wrong note in the fabric of the night, before dissolving into the oppressive quiet. From that consuming void, a simple question materializes, hanging in the air like a cold mist. It is the last thing you see before the screen goes completely dark, leaving you alone with the answer you dare not speak.
If the report helped, subscribe and open the next case.